Good morning. Good morning. Here we are, April the 1st of 2022. Yay! So happy to see everybody coming on this morning. There's Debbie, faithful Debbie. There's Rhonda. Hi, Rhonda. Good morning. Love to see our faithful Bible readers coming on with us.
Mama's on.
Oh, my mom's on. Now, why did it show on yours and not mine? Hi, Mom. I don't see you. Oh, there you are. She said good morning. Hi, Jana. Be sure and put your prayer requests in the comments and we put them in our prayer journal. Today's an especially good day because our good friend Jean's here with us this morning. I won't put him on camera. That might not make him very happy. You want to be on camera with me?
Not.
Hi, Cassie. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, he said, okay, let's do this. There's our good friend Gene. He's been my husband's best friend for how many years?
Oh, Lord, I don't even have any idea anymore.
You know, about 40 years. Yeah, so we're very blessed to have him. I love this man a lot. This is a good man right here.
That's debatable.
Nope, they better not debate me. Happy birthday, Nancy. Hi, Rita. They're saying hi, Jean. There's Debbie Nolan. See who I miss. Shirley's on with us. And did I say hi to Jana? Debbie Matthews. Okay. We're reading Deuteronomy chapter 18 through chapter 20. Have I told you guys Deuteronomy is some of my favorite readings?
No.
Almost every time I read Deuteronomy, every day, when I'm talking about our daily readings, almost every day when I can read Deuteronomy, I get nuggets that helps me for that day. There's something in here that encourages me for that particular day. Now, if I just start reading it and I'm reading the historical text of it, there's a lot of laws and a lot of do's and don'ts. But remember, Deuteronomy is the book where Moses is getting ready to die. God's already told him he's not going to go into the promised land. And he's getting ready to die and he knows he's going to die. And he's been leading these people now for 40 years, wandering through the desert. And Moses has been their leader. Moses has been the only person that could hear God for them. And so anything they got from God came through Moses. And these people were special to him. And he's telling them things that in his last days, he wants them to remember. So he goes back over all of the miracles that they've seen, all the ways that God's been good to them. And he also goes through and remembers the hard times and the tough times. And he uses that to encourage them that what is ahead of them is not so big that they can't win. If you remember, a few weeks ago, we read where they had come to the Jordan River and Moses sent 12 spies over into the promised land to check it out. Now, God had told them that this land was going to be the land flowing with milk and honey, the best they've ever seen. I mean, it was the promised land. We still today call it the promised land. In my heart, when I'm talking about the promised land, I'm talking about today, what is it that God has promised me? And I stand on a lot of promises that comes from this book right here. I stand on what this book says about my friend Gene, that he'll live a long, full life, that God will be with him in everything that he does, that God will finish what he started in him. I stand on these promises for my children. I stand on these promises for my husband and I stand on these promises for the people that mean a lot to me. And so the promised land represents to me those promises that God has given me. But when those 12 spies went over, all they saw were the giants, 10 of them. 10 of the 12 came back and said, oh my gosh, the giants are so big, we'll never be able to capture the land. Now, when they came back, remember, I've talked about this several times. The grapes in that promised land were so big that they had to carry the bundle of grapes on a pole between two men. I mean, they had a great big pole they hung those bunches of grapes on, and one man alone couldn't carry them. That's how big the grapes are. This land flowing with milk and honey was so lush, had so many promises to it, was such a beautiful place. And yet 10 of the 12, all they saw was the giants, and they murmured and they complained, and their murmuring and complaining angered God. So they didn't get to cross over. So every day the Bible tells us, and we're getting ready here to read what God says about, I set before you this day, life and death, blessings and curses. And he says, choose life. He tells us to choose the blessings, not the curses. Every day that we wake up, we can look at our problems or we can look at our blessings. And whatever we look at, that's what grows in our life. That's the laws of God. That's the way nature works. You've heard the experiments back. I can remember I was in high school when I heard about a major experiment that hit the news, where they had these green plants in a greenhouse, and they had one set of plants that the caretaker was coming by and watering them, and he always spoke good things to those plants. Oh, you're so beautiful today, you're growing so big. And then in another room, another greenhouse, was a set of plants that they come in and they watered, and they said, you're ugly, you're going to die, I can never do this, I don't have a green thumb, you look so wilty today. And those plants literally died, while the ones that they spoke good things to flourished. Our words matter. The things we say, the things we talk about matters. And it matters to God what we say. So I'm a long ways from it. You guys hear me talk about it all the time, because there's always reminders in here that I need to be careful what I'm saying. And I don't, there's that old Indian proverb that says that you got two wolves, one sitting on one shoulder and one sitting on the other. Which wolf? One was an evil wolf, one was a good wolf. Which one wins? The one that we feed. Lynn, I'm so glad you're with your grandkids. We prayed for you for your trip yesterday. The one that you feed. So I set before you this day, blessings or curses. Which one are you going to focus on, the blessings or the curses? Tom and I try at night before we go to bed, we try to list all the things we're grateful for. Yesterday was Grateful Thursday, on purpose, because sometimes, guys, I'm just telling you, sometimes I fall into a rut. Sometimes I fall into a routine that I'm not grateful, that I haven't said anything I'm grateful for in so long. And so literally, I believe the good Lord told me to name my days of the week. So I stopped dreading them. Mondays, which was the worst. Everybody dreads Mondays. It's Magnificent Monday. I now look at Mondays totally different than I used to. Magnificent Monday, Terrific Tuesday, Wonderful Wednesday, Thankful Thursday, Fabulous Friday, Super Saturday, and Sweet, Sweet Sunday. I'm telling you, I'm not doing this and saying this just because I'm on this video. I live this life. I had to have those names for the days of the week to start pointing out the good things in those days instead of me dreading those days. Magnificent Monday. I mean, the Bible tells us that this day is a gift. This day is a gift. I mean, the alternative, this day is a gift. So that's what I got out of today's reading. I'll go through and I'll show you just little bits and pieces. So I started talking about how I read it. The first time I read it as historical text, because it's true stories. This is their life. This is the words that Moses spoke to them. And then I go back and I highlight the things that I pick out that matters to me today, April the 1st of 2022. It matters to me today what these words are. And I'll just highlight some of them. I'll kind of go through one or two. So we're in Deuteronomy 18, verse 15. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your fellow Israelites. Of course, that's talking about Joshua. It's also prophetic for Jesus, but it's also prophetic for us today. He'll always put somebody in our path to help us. He'll always have somebody available to help us when we're needing the help. Let's see. Oh, well, here's an interesting one. Verse 21. I've got an interesting note at the side as well. But you may wonder, how will we know whether or not a prophecy is from the Lord? If the prophet speaks in the Lord's name, but his prediction does not happen or come true, you will know that the Lord did not give that message. That prophet has spoken without my authority and need to be heard. Oh my goodness, the last 2 years has there been prophecy after prophecy after prophecy about the elections that did not come true. And guess what? That's not who I listen to anymore. Like it or don't like it. It is written that the way we know that if a prophet is real or not is whether or not their prophecy comes true. And then I like chapter 19, verse 1. When the Lord your God destroys the nations whose land he is giving you, you will take over their land and settle in their towns and homes. You know what that says to me? So here he is. He brought him back up to the promised land again. Remember, those spies went over, and when they came back, all they saw was giants. They said, oh, we cannot defeat them. And you know what? That was a true statement. Those people could not defeat them, because right here it says that God would defeat them. See, he fights our battles for us over and over and over in this word. When you're looking for that, when you're looking for the blessings and not the curses, you'll see where he says, I'll go before you. I'll send the angels out before you. I will fight the battles for you. Right there it says, when the Lord our God destroys the nations whose land he is giving to you. See, they were looking at it as though they had to fight those battles, when God was promising them that he would give them the victory. There's such a difference in our mindset, in the way that we think about things. And the only way our mind gets renewed is through this word. He changes the way I think the more I read. The more I read, the more I think the way God thinks. And his ways are not my ways. His ways are higher. His thoughts are higher than my thoughts. Then it goes on. Let's see. Oh, here's one. So we're in Deuteronomy 19, verse 8. And if the Lord your God enlarges your territory, what are you believing for today? He's going to enlarge your territory. Remember, the promised land represents whatever promise you're standing on for today in your life. I'm believing for good health. He just enlarged that. I'm believing for good health for my friend Jean. He just enlarged that. He told me that if I can believe for good health for Jean, that what God wants for him is even bigger than that. What things are we believing God for? He's just saying he's going to enlarge your territory. That's how I use this book to encourage me, and that I can start my day on a positive note and not thinking about my problems. I've got problems. I've got things that aren't going right. I've told you guys before, you want to swap stories for your problems and my problems? I'll sit with you and I one-on-one can compare my problems with your problems any day of the week. I can tell you, but I choose not to focus on the problems. I choose to focus on the God that can solve my problems for me. There's Courtney Rose. Courtney, send me a text and tell me where you ended up, girlfriend. Wherever you're at, I'm believing you're much closer to me than you were. Courtney's been on her track to move closer and closer to Oklahoma. Then chapter 20, verse 1. When you go out to fight your enemies and you face horses and chariots and the armies are greater than your own, do not be afraid. God would not tell us not to be afraid if it was impossible for us to be afraid. He tells us to not be afraid because our trust is in him. You know, this situation is that you're going into battle and all you see are the chariots and horses that's facing you. All you see is that the enemy is greater than you are. The very thing you're facing, it seems to be overwhelming. And our temptation is immediately to be afraid of the future, to be afraid of moving forward. I don't know what tomorrow holds, so I'm going to be afraid of tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm afraid. And he's telling us to trust him that he's got this. He's got this. The Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. All that's saying to us today is, remember that last problem you had? He got you through that. Remember that problem you had 10 years ago? He got you through that. You're still here. You're the greatest testimony any of us have, is that we're still here. If we all got what we deserve, we'd all be in hell. But his mercy is so great, and his grace to get us through is greater than anything we can comprehend if we just trust him. The Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt is with you. Right there is a promise. God is with us. I'm not in this alone. When you prepare for battle, the priest must come forward to speak to the troops. He will say to them, listen to me, all you men of Israel. Do not be afraid as you go out to fight your enemies today. Do not lose heart or panic or tremble before them. For the Lord your God is going with you. He will fight for you against your enemies. Whatever the enemy is, whatever it is that's keeping you from perfect peace, perfect joy, perfect confidence, perfect peace. Did I say perfect peace? I mean, the peace of God is the one thing that I don't ever want to give up. Perfect peace of God. I lived my life without peace. I don't ever want to go back to not having peace. Whatever it is that's keeping you from perfect peace, God's bigger than that. And he's fighting those battles for you. I want to make sure I didn't miss something I wanted to say here. Okay. So moving on to Luke chapter 9, we're reading 28 through 50. Luke chapter 9, 28 through 50. About 8 days later, Jesus took Peter, John, and James up on a mountain to pray. And as he was praying, the appearance of his face was transformed and his clothes were dazzling white. I mean, all that is a representation of the change that takes place inside of us when we spend time with God, when we'll pray, when we'll seek him. That's all they were doing. He took them up on a mountain to pray, and they were spending time with God. I want to be transformed like that. And when I say that, it's not about my face dazzling. It's once again about that peace. The more I pray, the more peace that I have. And as he was praying, the appearance of his face was transformed and his clothes become dazzling white. Suddenly, the two men, Moses and Elijah, appeared and began talking with Jesus. They were glorious to see, and they were speaking about his exodus from this world, which is about to be fulfilled in Jerusalem. God even prepared Jesus for his exodus from this world. How much more will he prepare us? We don't have to fear death. We don't have to fear the act of dying. God will give us his peace. His grace is sufficient for whatever it is that we're facing if we'll just trust him. And that's all he's asking of us, is to trust him. And then let's see what else. In verse 35, then a voice from the cloud said, "This is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him." Listen to him. That's so good. So good. Good stuff today. Let's look at verse 46. So Luke chapter 9, verse 46. Then his disciples began arguing about which of them was the greatest. Now, isn't that something? I want to be the greatest one. No, I'm going to be the greatest one. They were arguing. His disciples, these are the disciples of Jesus Christ that have been living with him. 365 days a year, they were arguing over who was going to be the greatest. But Jesus knew their thoughts, so he brought a little child to his side. Now then, you want to know what God expects out of you? You want to know what he expects out of you? Listen to these words. I mean, we've got this great big God out there that we've made bigger than life, and he's way out there in heaven, and he's got a rod in one hand and he's got a pitchfork in the other, and if you do something wrong, all he's going to do is strike you dead. That is what the world has done to convince us what God is like. And this is what God is like. Here they are arguing over who's going to be the greatest. And Jesus knew their thoughts, so he brought a little child to his side. Then he said to them, anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf welcomes me. And anyone who welcomes me also welcomes my Father who sent me. Whoever is the least among you is the greatest. A little child. He uses a little child to describe what he's like. A little child. And then he tells us that whoever is the least among us will be the greatest in his eyes. And then John said to Jesus, Master, we saw someone using your name to cast out demons, but we told him to stop because he isn't in our group. He's not one of us. But Jesus said, don't stop him. Anyone who is not against you is for you. There's so much we can learn about God's heart, about who he is, instead of what the world says about him, for him to show us who he really is. Psalm 73, truly God is good to you and me, to those whose hearts are pure. But as for me, I almost lost my footing. My feet were slipping and I was almost gone, almost gone, but God. And we'll end with the Proverbs 12:10. The godly care for their animals, but the wicked are always cruel. He warns us about the wicked. He tells us that we'll be exposed to wicked people who are cruel. And once again, we don't focus on them. We turn our focus back to him. Our focus back to him on this fabulous Friday. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Oklahoma. I've got a lot to be grateful for. And the more grateful I am, the more it shows me what I have to look forward to. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. I believe that with everything in me. And I get that from reading this every single day. I love you guys.